Hello and good morning. We have left Stranraer, thankfully. We're now on our way to Ayr, A-Y-R, which I'm told isn't much better, but we'll see when we get there. As I was coming, I just noticed this island, so I've pulled into this little car park off the main road. I've just noticed an island and I've looked it up, and it's called Ailsa Craig, and it's a very, very interesting past to it. So nobody lives on the island anymore. It's deserted. But it used to be quarried for blue slate, which the stones were used for curling. You know the game curling, like throwing kettles on ice? They look like kettles anyway. A bit like bowls on ice, which Scotland love that game. So they get all the stones from there to make the curling stones. The island is also full of two sets of birds, gannets and puffins. I've never seen a puffin, ever. And just knowing that there's loads just on that island over there, I want to see one, and I can't see one anywhere. It says it's 10 miles, 9.9 miles off the mainland. Now look at it. It looks so close. It looks like 1 mile. It's amazing how your eyes deceive you. The island's been for sale for 6 years for £1.5 million, which I think's a bargain because it looks quite a big island, and it's got a lot of history. If I had £10 million, I'd buy that. But I ain't. There's the ruins of a castle on the island, which was built in the 1500s, and in the 18 and 1900s, the place was used as a prison. And one last interesting fact is there's a smuggler's cave on the island, and in the cave, when they were cleaning it out for bat poo, guano, whatever they call it, they were clearing all the bat poo out of the cave. They found 2 stone coffins, and they believe it's from 2 smugglers from many years ago. So that's Ailsa Craig. I wish I could get over there because it sounds so interesting. So now we're at the Brig O Doon. The Brig O Doon, that's how you'd say it in Scottish. In English, it's the Bridge of Doon. Okay? Very famous bridge for a few reasons. Firstly, this bridge is on the Scottish £5 note. Now I was dying to give you a picture from the exact angle on the £5, but I can't because it's down there. It's taken from down there, and I don't think I can get access to take the exact same picture showing it this way. But hey, that's one thing it's famous for. The bridge was built in the early 1400s, and it's got this line of cobbles going down the middle here. They say that stops witches from crossing the bridge. Now that story all comes from Robert Burns, the very, very, very famous Scottish poet. He wrote a poem, and the last verse in one of the poems, let me just find the name of it for you. He wrote a poem called Tam O' Shanter. Tam O' Shanter is a person, and in the last verse of the poem, it read, I'll read it in English because you won't understand it in Scottish if you're not from around Britain. The carling caught her by the rump and left poor Meg with scarcely a stump. Now Meg was a horse. What the last verse is trying to say, that this guy called Tam was coming across this bridge on his horse, and a witch was chasing him, and the witch couldn't get over the bridge, and she just grabbed hold of the horse's tail, and the tail came off, it fell off, and had nothing left but a bare bum and no tail. True story. Well, it might not be a true story, but hey, Robert Burns wrote that. Robert Burns is so famous, they have a Robert Burns Day in Scotland, and I think it's a bank holiday. I think they get the day off because some poet said so. I wanted to see this bridge mainly because it was on the £5 note. I didn't know the other part of the story. I didn't know about Robert Burns and this witchy thing happening here, but very interesting bridge. Glad I came. It's turning into a lovely day now. It's very cold, very windy. We've got like an Arctic breeze coming over for a few days, and it's meant to be really cold, but it's beautiful. Right, here I am, stood at the top of the Burns Monument in Alloway. Alloway, sorry, A-L-L-O-W-A-Y. The Doon Bridge, you can actually see it from here, look. Brig O Doon, should I say, is there. And this is the side where you see the, on the Scottish note. They might have taken it from up here, just with a very good zoom on. Not sure. Apparently some rich guy decided that Robert Burns' gravestone wasn't good enough for such an important person. So he arranged for this to be built. It's massive. I was just taking pictures down there and a woman, Scottish woman, kindly said I can come up to the top of it. Very windy. But yeah, a monument especially for Mr. Burns himself. It's in the middle of a beautiful garden. This reminds me of where I was with Lee in Cornwall, where we were metal detecting, but I bet there's more things here. Absolutely stunning gardens, well looked after. Not that Lee's wasn't. More history here though. So here behind me is a very, very old church. Now, the poem, Tam O'Shanter, is based on this place and ends up on the Brig O Doon Bridge. What happened? I'll tell you the story. I won't tell you it as a poem because you won't understand it. Even Scottish people might struggle to understand the dialect. I'll tell you what happened in my way, yeah, in the poem. It's a story. It's about a farmer called Tam. And he's a bit of a drinker, is Tam. He likes a drink. And he's out one day with his mates in the pub, local pub. Anyway, he gets on his horse and sets off home. Now, I don't know if that's right. Drink riding. I don't know if drink riding is illegal or was illegal. Is it illegal to ride a horse when you've had a drink? I don't know. Anyway, he was riding home on his horse, very drunk indeed. Came across this church. So as he's coming past on his horse, very, very drunk riding, he comes past this gate here. Takes a peek in the gate and it's full of witches and warlocks and lights and music and it's all kicking off like a big rave in there. And he's staring at them for a bit and he turns around and he shouts at them, "Oi, what are you doing?" That ain't actually what he shouted, but he did shout something. So, anyway, they didn't like that. You know, they turned all the lights off, the music stopped because they had music playing and they started chasing him. So they chased Tam, past his memorial, which wasn't there then, down to the bridge. He's on his horse, remember. Anyway, he goes over the bridge. And the witch, one of the witches, almost, they can't cross water, you see. They can't cross running water, can't witches. It's against the witches' code or something. They die, you know, like in Wizard of Oz, something like that. They don't like water. So he's crossing the bridge on his horse, Meg, and one of the witches reaches out at the bridge, just grabs the tail of the horse. The tail comes off, but the horse makes it across with Tam, and he lives happily ever after, but his horse doesn't have a tail. How he's going to explain that to his wife, who apparently is at home very mad. She's always angry at him because he's always in the pub. But yeah, that's the story. And this is the church it was based on. 1516, a date up there. And somewhere in here is buried Robert Burns' dad. So this is the grave of Robert Burns' dad, William Burns. Died in 1784, age 63. It's amazing to think that this great person, Robert Burns, this man here went to bed with Agnes, his mother. They went to bed one night and then he made 50% of Robert Burns. I'm not telling you how that happened, you'll have to ask your parents. It's none of my business to tell you. But they made Robert Burns and he's dead, and that's where he is. Whilst I'm here, I want to tell you about a dream I had last night. Now, I went to sleep at 10:15 and I woke up at 11 o'clock in a really bad mood. I was furious, I was mad. And it was because of a dream. Now, I dreamt, and I got straight on my phone to save it, because you know how you don't remember your dreams? I thought I'll save it so I can talk about it today. I basically made a big meal, yeah? I made toast, beans, spam, egg, mushrooms, chips and cheese, right? Took me ages. Anyway, I got it all ready, and I'm looking for a fork. You know, knives, loads of knives, no forks. Looking for a fork. And I go up to my stepdad, I say, "Where's all forks?" He says, "Oh, your mum sent them all to to her best friend's Tracy to borrow for a few weeks. I says, you what? She's sent all his forks to Tracy, who lives at the other side of the country, and she hasn't even saved us one fork to eat with. I was furious. Anyway, there was one fork in the house, and it's what was used to feed a dog, you know, dog food fork. And I thought, I'm not using that. So I just tried to eat it with just a knife, and I was furious. My mother wasn't in, she was out somewhere. If she'd have been in during the dream, I'd have kicked off big time, but she wasn't. Anyway, yeah, I woke up really mad. But then, after about half an hour, I calmed down because I just thought, it's only a dream, it didn't really happen. But am I the only one who thinks only an idiot would lend out every single fork in the house and not save one for us to eat with? Well, if there's 3 people living in the house, you'd save 3, wouldn't you? Minimum. You'd probably save 6. So that when you're washing up 3, you've always got 3 in the drawer in case you want 2 meals before you wash up. Anyway, moving on. I'm getting mad again just thinking about it. So this is the exact cottage Robert Burns was born in, which is pretty cool. You know, he was born here, but he wasn't that skilled back then, was he? He was just a baby. He didn't do anything. But it's interesting to know that this genius was born there. A lot of cars around though, a lot of cars. I'd have wanted to move if I were his parents. They don't use that church anymore, by the way, it's just a ruin. This is the new one across the road. Right, just as I'm walking back to the car now, I'll just tell you how the charity's going before I leave you. We've got an anonymous £10, Larry Vering $30, Troy Grant $20 and Torb Jean £4.50. That's since the last video. We're now up to £38,315. Thank you very much guys, but not as much as we need really. Please start donating more. We need to get over 40 grand. We really need to put the effort in so that I can see a light at the end of this tunnel. This very, very, very long tunnel. All the links in the description. Go to diggingthecoast.com and click donate and give all that you can. Thank you very much guys. Hope you enjoyed this little walk. If there's anybody watching who's got any permission around the area where I can metal detect, please get in touch because the tide times are not in my favour for about 3 to 4 days. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing. So if anyone out there can help, please do. So thanks for joining on Digging the Coast 365.